I stood in front of my bedroom mirror wearing the simple white dress I'd bought with my own money. My hands shook as I tried to zip it up. Tonight was supposed to be the beginning of my real life. Evan was waiting outside in his car, and we were finally going to elope. I was 18, legally an adult, and so tired of my parents controlling everything. My phone buzzed with Evan's text, "Ready when you are. I love you." I smiled and reached for my bag. That's when my bedroom door exploded open. My father's face was red with rage, and my mother stood behind him with my laptop in her hands. "Going somewhere, Lena," he growled. My stomach dropped. They knew. My father snatched my phone from my hands before I could react. "You thought we wouldn't find out?" my mother hissed. She'd been reading our messages, every single one. I tried to push past them, screaming for Evan, but my father grabbed my arms so hard it hurt. He dragged me downstairs while I kicked and cried. Through the window, I could see Evan's confused face as he got out of his car. My mother locked the front door and pulled the curtains shut. "Evan will never be part of this family," she said coldly. My father's grip tightened. "This is for your own good, Lena." I watched helplessly as Evan knocked on the door, calling my name. Then I heard his car engine start. He was leaving. He thought I'd changed my mind. The next morning, I woke up to silence. My phone was gone. My laptop was gone. Even my old tablet had vanished. My mother stood in my doorway with her arms crossed. "You're grounded indefinitely," she announced. "School and home. That's it. No friends, no phone, no internet." My father appeared behind her. "If you try to contact that boy again, we'll pull you out of school entirely. We'll homeschool you until you learn some respect." I felt trapped, like the walls were closing in. For 3 days, I followed their rules, too scared to fight back. Then I borrowed a friend's phone at lunch. I found Evan's social media and my heart broke. The message was simple: "Goodbye to everyone here. Moving across the country. Need a fresh start." I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I spent hours in the shower crying where my parents couldn't hear me. My clothes started hanging off my body. My eyes were constantly red and puffy. But my parents didn't seem worried. In fact, they seemed satisfied. "See," my mother said one morning. "This proves we were right. He wasn't worth all this drama." My father nodded. "You'll thank us someday." I wanted to scream at them, but I had no energy left. One afternoon, my aunt visited for coffee. I sat quietly at the kitchen table, barely listening to their conversation. Then my aunt said something that made my blood run cold. "So when are you introducing Lena to the Harrison boy? Your business deal depends on it, doesn't it?" That night, I waited until my parents were asleep. I crept into my mother's study, my heart pounding so loud I thought it would wake them. I searched through her desk drawers, looking for anything that might explain my aunt's comment. In the bottom drawer, hidden under some folders, I found a stack of papers. My hands trembled as I read them. Financial agreements. Business proposals. And there, in black and white, was my name. The documents outlined a plan for me to marry the Harrison's son, Thomas, to merge our family businesses. The dates went back 3 years. 3 years of planning my future without ever asking me. They'd orchestrated everything, including destroying my relationship with Evan. I took pictures with my aunt's old camera that I'd found. Then I made a decision. I was done obeying. 2 weeks later, I found my chance. My parents went to bed early, exhausted from a long day. I stuffed clothes into a backpack and climbed out my bedroom window at midnight. The bus station was only 2 miles away. I'd saved enough money from my part-time job to buy a ticket to where Evan had moved. My feet hurt from running in old sneakers, but I didn't stop. The station was nearly empty when I arrived. I was just buying my ticket when I saw headlights. My father's car pulled into the parking lot. He must have checked my room. They dragged me back home in silence, but once we got inside, the yelling started. "You're destroying everything we've built," my father screamed. My mother's face was twisted with anger. Then she slapped me, hard. My cheek burned. But inside, something changed. I stopped being afraid. The next morning, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table. My mother slid a folder across to me. Inside were photos of Thomas Harrison, the boy they wanted me to marry. He looked nice enough, but I didn't care. "This is your choice, Lena," my father said calmly. "You can marry Thomas and have everything you could ever want. Or we cut you off completely. No money for college. No home. Nothing." He actually thought I would choose them. My mother smiled, confident in their control. I stood up slowly, letting the folder fall to the floor. "I choose myself," I said. Their smiles faded. "You don't mean that," my mother whispered. But I did. I went upstairs and started packing a bag. This time, I wasn't sneaking out. I was walking out the front door. I left at dawn, before they could stop me. My aunt picked me up at the corner, tears streaming down her face. "I should have helped you sooner," she said as I got into her car. She drove me to her apartment across town. It was small but felt safer than anywhere I'd been in months. Over tea, she told me her own story. "Your father controlled me too, when we were younger. He made me break up with the man I loved because he wasn't good enough for the family." She wiped her eyes. "I never forgave myself for listening. But you're braver than I was." She handed me her old phone. I kept Evan's mother's email address. "I thought you might need it someday." My hands shook as I took the phone. Maybe it wasn't too late after all. I spent 3 hours writing and rewriting the email to Evan. I told him everything, how my parents had lied, how they'd kept us apart, how I'd never stopped loving him. My finger hovered over the send button for a long time before I finally pressed it. Then I waited. Hours passed with no response. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Then, at 2 in the morning, my aunt's phone chimed. Evan had replied. His message was short but it made me cry with relief. "I never stopped loving you either. I thought you'd left me, but your email explains everything. I can fly back if you're safe. Just say the word." I typed back immediately, "I'm safe. Please come." Within minutes, my aunt's phone started ringing. My parents had found out where I was. They showed up the next morning, pounding on my aunt's door so hard I thought they'd break it down. "Lena! Open this door right now," my father shouted. My aunt stood firm. "She's an adult. She doesn't have to see you." But I decided to face them. I opened the door and stepped outside, keeping my aunt's apartment behind me. My mother's eyes were wild. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life," she spat. "The Harrisons are furious. You've embarrassed us." My father stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "If you don't come home right now, I will destroy that boy's life. I'll make sure he never gets a job, never has a future." Just then, my aunt's phone rang. It was Evan. "I'm at the airport," he said. I put him on speaker. My father's face went pale. The airport was crowded when I arrived, but I spotted Evan immediately. He looked different, older somehow, but his eyes were the same. We ran to each other, and when we hugged, I finally felt like I could breathe again. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I should have fought harder." He held me tighter. We're together now. That's what matters. We sat in the airport coffee shop for hours, just talking. Evan had a plan. He'd saved money from his new job, and he had an apartment we could share. A lawyer at a nearby table overheard us talking and handed us his card. "You might need help with emancipation papers and maybe a restraining order," he said kindly. "Call me." That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in months. The next week, I officially cut ties with my parents. I sent them one email explaining my decision, then blocked their numbers. But they didn't stop. They emailed me from different addresses. They left voicemails on my aunt's phone. They sent letters to Evan's apartment. The messages ranged from guilt trips about how much they'd sacrificed for me to threats about what they'd do if I didn't come home. Then they started contacting Evan's family, trying to turn them against us. Evan's mother called one night, confused. "Your parents are saying some pretty strange things," she said carefully. I explained everything, and she was horrified. "You do whatever you need to stay safe," she told me. The next day, I changed my phone number and email address. My aunt did too. The silence that followed felt like freedom. Evan and I moved into a tiny apartment together. It wasn't much, just one bedroom and a kitchen smaller than my old closet, but it was ours. We both got jobs, saved every penny we could, and slowly built a life. Some days were hard. I had nightmares about my parents finding me. I jumped at every knock on the door. But Evan was patient. He held me when I cried and reminded me that I was safe. We went to therapy together, learning how to trust again. 6 months passed, and things got easier. One evening, Evan took me to the park where we'd had our first date. He got down on one knee and pulled out a simple ring. No secrets this time. No fear. Just us. "Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished asking. But 2 days later, someone slipped a letter under our apartment door. The envelope had my mother's handwriting on it. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a long letter claiming she was dying from a rare illness. "I need to see you one last time," she wrote. "Please don't let me die without saying goodbye to my daughter." The words hit me hard. What if she really was sick? What if I regretted not seeing her? Evan noticed my distress. He looked at the return address and frowned. "This isn't from a hospital or even their house. It's from their business office." Something felt wrong. I searched online for my parents' names and found recent photos from a charity event. My mother looked perfectly healthy, laughing in a designer dress. My father stood beside her, smiling. It was all a lie, just another manipulation tactic to get me back under their control. I tore up the letter. Our wedding day was perfect. We got married in a small garden with just 20 people present, Evan's family, close friends, my aunt, and some coworkers who'd become like family. My aunt walked me down the aisle, crying happy tears. I wore a simple dress and carried wildflowers. When Evan and I exchanged vows, I felt whole for the first time in years. My parents weren't there, and I didn't miss them. After the ceremony, my cousin pulled me aside. "I need to tell you something," she said nervously. "Your parents are furious about the wedding. They're calling it an embarrassment to the family. My mom heard them planning something to fix this situation." I thanked her for the warning, but I refused to let their anger ruin my happiness. 2 weeks later, a legal notice arrived in our mailbox. My joy turned to ice. The legal document claimed I was mentally unstable and being manipulated by Evan. My parents were trying to have my emancipation invalidated. They wanted legal authority over me again, even though I was 19 years old. "They can't actually do this, can they?" I asked Evan, my voice shaking. He called his lawyer friend immediately. After reviewing the paperwork, the lawyer assured us it was a weak case, but we'd need to respond officially. "They're trying to scare you," he explained. We filed a counterclaim with evidence of their abuse and control. Then Evan noticed something strange. A man had been sitting in a car outside our apartment for 3 days. When Evan confronted him, the man drove off quickly. Later, our neighbor mentioned someone had been asking questions about us. My parents had hired a private investigator to follow us. 3 months after our wedding, I woke up feeling sick. For a week, I couldn't keep food down. Evan insisted I see a doctor. When the doctor said, "Congratulations, you're pregnant," I thought I'd misheard. Pregnant? Evan cried when I told him, actual tears of joy streaming down his face. "We're going to be parents," he whispered, holding me close. I felt scared but also incredibly happy. We'd create the loving home I'd never had. We'd do everything differently. I was 12 weeks along when a woman knocked on our apartment door. She looked nervous. "Are you the couple being hunted by those rich crazies?" she asked. "A man with a camera has been asking everyone in the building questions about you. He's been showing your photos around." The private investigator was still following us, even after all this time. I was tired of running and hiding. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of my parents controlling my life even from a distance. "We have 2 choices," I told Evan one night. "We can move again, change our names, keep running. Or we can fight back." Evan took my hand. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I thought about the baby growing inside me. I thought about the life we were trying to build. "I want to fight," I said. The next day, I called the lawyer. I told him about the private investigator, the constant harassment, the threatening letters, everything. He listened carefully and then said, "I think we have enough evidence for a restraining order. Your parents have been stalking and harassing you for months. Let's make it stop." I gathered every email, every letter, every threatening message. It was time to end this. The judge approved our restraining order. My parents were legally prohibited from contacting me or Evan, from coming near our home or workplace, and from hiring anyone to follow us. The order covered both of us and our unborn child. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. But my parents didn't take it well. Within days, the emails started again, this time even more desperate and angry. They showed up at my old job, demanding to know where I worked now. They sent letters to Evan's parents, trying to convince them to give up our address. Each violation was documented and reported. Then, one evening, I saw my father's car parked outside our building. He sat there for hours, just watching our windows. I called the police immediately. They arrested him for violating the restraining order right there in his expensive car. The arrest made the local news. "Businessman arrested for stalking daughter," read the headline. My father's face, the one that had intimidated me my whole life, was plastered across the internet. He had to pay a fine and spend a night in jail. The humiliation was exactly what he'd always feared most. My mother wrote a public apology on social media, claiming they'd just been concerned parents who'd made mistakes. But people saw through it. The comments were brutal. Then something unexpected happened. One of their biggest business partners announced they were ending their relationship with my parents' company. The scandal was too much. My parents were facing real consequences for the first time in their lives. Meanwhile, I was in my 3rd trimester, my belly growing bigger each day. Then my water broke, 3 weeks early. The hospital room was bright and overwhelming. Evan held my hand through every contraction, every push, every moment of pain and fear. After hours of labor, I heard the most beautiful sound in the world, my baby crying. "It's a boy," the nurse said. But then she paused. "Wait, there's another one. Twins." I'd been carrying twins, and somehow we'd missed it in the earlier ultrasounds. Two perfect baby boys, small but healthy. Evan cut both umbilical cords, tears running down his face. "This is our real family now," he whispered. I held my sons, feeling a love so fierce it scared me. Later, a nurse came in looking uncomfortable. "I need to tell you something," she said. A couple tried to visit earlier, claiming to be the grandparents. Security escorted them out. My parents had found out about the birth and come anyway. For 6 months, we heard nothing from my parents. I almost started to believe they'd finally given up. The twins kept us busy every moment. We were exhausted but happy. Then a certified letter arrived. My stomach dropped as I read it. My parents were filing for grandparent visitation rights. They were claiming they had a legal right to see their grandchildren, despite everything they'd done. They're calling themselves concerned citizens who want to ensure the children's well-being, the letter stated. I felt sick. They were trying a different angle, pretending to care about the twins' welfare while ignoring all their past abuse. Our lawyer reviewed the case. This could go to court, he warned. They're trying to use the legal system to get access to you through the children. A court date was set for 3 months later. The courtroom was cold and formal. My parents sat across from us with their expensive lawyer, both dressed perfectly and playing the role of concerned grandparents. But when my turn came to testify, I told the truth. I explained the forced isolation, how they'd kept me from Evan, the arranged marriage contracts, the years of control and manipulation. I showed the judge the threatening emails, the evidence of the private investigator, the police reports from the restraining order violations. Evan testified next, backing up everything I'd said. Then my aunt took the stand. She brought old journals and letters proving my parents had a history of controlling and manipulating family members. She even revealed they'd done the same thing to her 20 years ago, destroying her relationship and her chance at happiness. The courtroom went silent. The judge took off his glasses and looked directly at my parents. I've reviewed all the evidence presented today, he said slowly. And I find the petitioner's history deeply troubling. He listed everything: the manipulation, the stalking, the restraining order violations, the attempted control through legal intimidation. These actions demonstrate a pattern of behavior that poses significant emotional danger to the minor children. He paused, and I held my breath. Petition for grandparent visitation rights is denied. Furthermore, the existing restraining order will remain in effect indefinitely. My mother gasped. My father's face turned red. Additionally, the judge continued, I'm referring this case to the district attorney to investigate possible criminal violations of the protection order. I felt Evan squeeze my hand. We'd won. After years of fighting, we'd finally won. 5 years have passed since that day in court. I'm sitting on our back porch now, watching my twins play in the yard we finally saved enough to buy. They're laughing, chasing each other with toy trucks, completely carefree. Evan comes out with lemonade and kisses my forehead. Happy? He asks. I nod, because I genuinely am. My parents never contacted us again after the court's decision. They lost their business 2 years ago after more scandals came to light. I heard about it through my aunt, who still keeps tabs on them. They moved to a different state, trying to escape their reputation. Sometimes I think about them, but not with anger anymore. Just with sadness for what they could have had if they'd chosen love over control. My phone buzzes. It's my aunt sending a news article: my parents' company officially shut down. I read it, feel nothing, and delete it. Then I go play with my sons in the sunshine. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, comment and share.